Okay, hello. I'm gonna assume my stream isn't broken, and I'm gonna carry on about this. Hello, everybody. It's me, Scorn, and I'm behind again. So we're gonna do a week 4 and 5 recap stream for the Unova division. Oh fuck! Excuse me, I'm dying. So we'll take a quick look here at the leaderboards, because for some reason I had this ready, but nothing else. Sorry, nose is very itchy. So between week 4 and 5, we got quite a few really cool games. I think there's a lot to kind of highlight here. Lots of cool games, lots of close games actually. I think week 5 overall had more interesting stuff to look at. But we'll kind of look at a bit of both, I would say. There are some games that I know I'm not spotlighting. Sorry, Finnegan Sriracha, I'm not watching this game from week 4 because Jesus Christ, this game lasted 120 turns. I ain't doing that shit, not on my channel. So we'll probably start with this one for Sriracha out of week 5. This one was a really tight game, 1-0 against Ventus, who is, well, not only one of the admins, but also a very good player. So this is going to be fun to watch. Now that I kind of look at it, maybe we just do all of week 4 or week 5. I think those games look really fun, just like on a base level. A lot of these are really interesting, I feel like. Can maybe mix it up a bit, because I also do want to hit some of the ones out of week 4. I don't know which ones, but I think there maybe are a couple that are like kind of neat. But anyway, let's just do some of the week 5 ones. So let's do Sriracha versus Ventus. That's gonna be a fun one. I already know. Here we go. So this one I think is already kind of cool. We have Sriracha here bringing Regieleki, Grimmsnarl, Iron Boulder, Yoskarada, Petrant, and Arbaliva. Actually, super cool team. I really like this. In a weird way, it's like also got some weird type holes, but like I think there's opportunity for some really interesting tech. Aleki, I know, hasn't seen a whole lot of play this season, so it's going to be kind of fun to see. Iron Boulder, I think a lot of us know, is usually meant to be a fast sweeper, but it's going to be a bit challenging given that there is a Dragapult on the other team, so that's going to give it a lot of a headache. But there's still, a Meowscarada, there's still a Grimmsnarl that can really deal with this super well. So it's not going to be easy, I think, for the Dragapult to really get up going on its own, but we'll see how that shakes out. Petrant, kind of returning here. I really like Petrant. It's maybe one of my favorite things to use at the moment in draft. I think utility-wise, the fact that it's one of the beefiest options you can run, and given that its stat totals, or its base stats are pretty much 88 everything except like Fizz defense, which is on 60, make it really, really powerful, like useful, and it actually has some flexibility. I know Sriracha has played it physical at least 1 week, and I thought that was really cool. A little bit unorthodox in my opinion, because you are giving up, like Will-O-Wisp Hex utility, but you can still do like Will-O-Wisp. I think it gets like knockoff. I know it gets Gunk Shot for Poison Stab, which is really, really great. Not so sure about its Ghost Stabs, at least off the top, but it still has some options. So I'm curious to see what he took. So it'll be really fun to see what that's going to do. And lastly is this Arbaliva. Arbaliva, I know, funnily enough, Ventus used to great success, I think, last season, often being a Terra Fire type, and shedding, it's kind of pretty, I think, fairly weakness laden typing of normal grass. But the fact that it has Both, I think, two really good abilities. I think Seed Sower is maybe a little bit better to give it a bit of baked-in sustain, and it can be fairly bulky, and still dishes out a decent amount of damage without too much investment. It has a pretty high special attack stat, if I remember correctly, so it's got some staying power, and especially when you shed one of its weaknesses, it's able to stick around a little bit longer, which is going to be really, really good, I think, for it. And then for Ventus, he's got a pretty... I think this is a bit of a standard team. Feels a little safe in a way for him, given his draft, but I still like it quite a bit. Ursaluna base form is, I think, a monstrous physical attacker with good defensive options, because you can pretty easily go like Assault Vest on it, and I think it's not unreasonable to go like really aggressive, or you can go a little bit more defensive. You can go, like I said, AV. You can even go, oftentimes people do like Flame Orb to proc Guts, and of course this has Bulletproof, so if you did go like fully defensive route with AV, Bulletproof is great to kind of protect yourself from Energy Ball or like Focus Blast attempts from certain things. And then Unnerve, I don't think is very good ever on Ursa, but there's a use case for it. Unnerve looks really great if this is Harvest Arboliva, but I don't think I would ever make that kind of a gamble. Potentially a risky team build option, but I think this is probably like Guts Flame Orb, and then it's going to just try to output a lot of damage, but we'll see. Vaporeon here offering a pretty nice, just bulky water. Vaporeon pretty historically just a good, Wish Passer, especially now that it has Flip Turn, allowing it an option to set Wish and then pass itself out to an ally, especially because Vaporeon is actually quite slow, for an evolution, so it's not impossible to get a slow pivot out and then pass that Wish off to something a bit more offensive, maybe perhaps the Ogerpon or Revavroom, if those are still in play. Speaking of which, Ogerpon and Revavroom, both of which are, I think, really good setup sweepers. Ogerpon natively is just really, really great in my opinion. Being base like 110 speed puts it at a really good speed tier. And if you're kind of ballsy, you could run a Trailblaze set with it to really push it over the edge. You can also run, and this is Teal Mass too, so you actually have item flexibility as well. Maybe not so much in the way of coverage, but you still get a few options. Being able to bring a good grass move and Ivy Cudgel kind of frees you up for other coverage moves like Play Rough potentially, or High Horsepower. I think High Horsepower is really great here, being able to hit like Regieleki and potentially the Pecharunt, but I don't think you should ever stand against Pecharunt as Ogerpon, unless you're crit, of course, then it's pretty silly. Revavroom here, I think is just a potential, I mentioned, is probably another good setup sweeper because of Shift Gear, which is basically an agility and like a self +1 attack layer. It's like a Dragon Dance plus in a way, and kind of sets this up to pretty go to town pretty nicely. The only thing that kind of issues it is that it is a steel poison type, so you are pretty susceptible to ground moves. Even like a stray, like a whatever, an earth power off of something that doesn't have great coverage, but it's just taking it as a coverage and we could just kill it. But that's why I think generally people like to go Air Balloon. So it'll be kind of cool to see. I don't remember what happened to this game, I'm not gonna lie, but we'll keep going. Probopass is here again. I think Ventus has really been liking Probopass a lot as far as like an option. It's got a pretty like a move pool deeper than I expected, which is really weird to think about because this is a Probopass, but in conjunction with Terra, being able to, I think his Terra types are like Steel, Fighting, and something else. So it has like good Terra options to maybe shut off weaknesses or really start putting on the pressure. Going Terra Fighting with Body Press is no joke. That's gonna put out a lot of damage, especially after an Iron Defense. And of course Dragapult. I'm not gonna comment on this because I don't know what it's gonna do. It can do literally anything. It could be support, it could be offensive, could be like a weird Suicider with like Memento. Who knows? But let's just watch this game, shall we? There's the Petrant lead, and it's staring down the Revavroom with the air balloon. There it is. Oh, that's okay. Yeah, this is really interesting because Sriracha is actually showing that he's not afraid to go the parting shot Petrant route, which is super cool. And at a base level, it actually was outspeeding the Revavroom, which is kind of rad. There's the Reflect coming up for the Grimmsnarl as there goes for the taunt. And it goes for another shift here, but there's a crunch, popping the balloon, getting a nice chunk of damage too. 39% is really great there. And Poison Jab comes out, doesn't KO because of that Reflect. A second crunch comes out, dealing 38 again. Really shredding down this Revavroom. And there's a switch into Petron behind the screen. High horsepower connects, but it's not going to do a lot. High special physical defense plus a screen is going to do that for you. And there's a taunt, and there's a Shadow Ball for the kill. Really, really great there. I think Revavroom looks really threatening into this back end of the team, so I think losing it that early is really not good for Ventus. There's the Thunder Wave into the Arboliva. Not really important because this Arboliva is already so slow, but there's a Ghost-type Curse, actually, and Earthbower comes out dealing a healthy amount of damage. 27% is really great. Here's a switch out into the Dragapult, and there's a Giga Drain for a little bit of damage. Actually, 23 is pretty nice there. But he's staying in with that Ghost-type Gurse ticking, and there's a switch out into Grimmsnarl, reading the... Oh, and it is going to be support Dragapult. Okay. And there's the light screen as the... looks like he's going to go for the Reflect, and there's a Crunch. Gets the KO, actually, and takes a bit of chip back from the Rocky Helmet. Ursaluna is our switch in, as there's the parting shot actually with the Prankster, getting that -1/-1 into the Arboliva. I actually quite like this. And there's a bulk up to kind of reset the attack stat, get a little bit more defense. There's a second bulk up actually trying to get that the damage difference. And there's a Giga Drain, healing it back 34%, really, really nice. And that's through the light screen too. And counterly, there is a Drain Punch dealing a huge chunk of damage, 46, through the Reflect, which is quite a bit scarier. There's an Alluring Voice clicked. It does a little bit of damage. I still would have tried to go for a Giga Drain there, but, you know, it is what it is. And there's the Drain I was hoping for with the Grassy Terrain boost, actually getting a lot more damage through, even again, through that light screen. And there's a second bulk up as well, I forgot to mention. There's another Drain Punch, healing it back up, dealing a significant amount of damage, but there is a second Giga Drain, kind of evening the playing field there. A little bit of that Grassy Terrain recovery on both sides, and the light screen does drop. Drain Punch comes out here and will roll nicely for the kill. Still being at 50-56% with no screen protecting you. It's a little scary. But there's the Petrant. Goes for the Destiny Bond. I forgot it did this. And at the +2, Ursa's gonna KO and will trade out against Ursaluna. It's really interesting here because now we have Sriracha actually taking a pretty nice lead on this game. Ogerpon and Vaporeon are the only healthy things, and this Dragapult has taken a nice bit of damage already. There's the Reflect here, and there's a Will-O-Wisp from Drag. And I think this Grimmsnarl is just going to set up its last two screens and probably give its life to the cause. Not like it had a choice. There's a Sucker Punch. So it will go down there. Meowscarada comes in, or Doja Cat rather, and it takes the Wisp though, which is a little brutal, but there's a triple Axle with Protean through a Reflect. It will do no damage. At least he rolled the 3 hits though. Sriracha has had it a little bit rough with rolling the triple hits on triple Axle. Sometimes to me it does feel like only a double Axle. But there's a T-Spikes actually from the Meowscarada, which is really cool. Kind of setting up for the later game, even though there's not too much left. And the second for the full Toxic Spikes, as the Vaporeon will stay behind to get up a Calm Mind. And there's a switch out into the Regieleki as the Wish is clicked. Supercell Slam for a physical Aleki. Super cool. The Calm Mind will come up, and the Wish will land for 50% onto the Vaporeon. But there's a second Slam! Doing a healthy chunk, and even at +2, Fish Scald will do the 51%. So now we're risking it here a little bit. Supercell misses, and will actually take itself out. Oh, Scald fails. But in a way, this might be okay because now this Iron Boulder is kind of in a dominant position. Ogerpon comes out here, lands on the T-spikes. A little bit of a mind game I thought here was you could stay in and try to click a... I think it gets X Scissor, and X Scissor would kill, but if this clicks Cudgel, this would kill Iron Boulder. If it was like Scarfed or something. Although, actually, I don't know if it would have made a difference. I think if this was Scarfed, I would be a little nervous, but Iron Boulder is also dummy fast, so maybe you could have just gone for the X Scissor. But I think playing safely, Sriracha does go for the switch out. Probably expecting the Ivy Cudgel, because Cudgel would kill. But the play rough actually is the move clicked, and that will actually kill the Masquerada. I do believe that this Ogerpon is actually Scarfed, so we'll see what he does. There's a Mighty Cleave for 54%. Good damage, but there's a player of... Yeah, this is... Yeah, that's locked in with a choice for sure. Takes another chunk of damage there from the play rough. Goes for the Spiky Shield to stall out a turn, but forgets a Mighty Cleave does cut right through. And actually, my bad. It's not Scarfed. It's just fast. There's a Reflect. This Dragapult is on no HP, and there's the Cleave for the KO. And what's interesting here, actually, is there also is a little bit of a mind game where potentially you start to gamble Sucker Punches, because if you get hit... I think if this gets hit twice with Sucker, I think once or twice it would die or something like that. So something I realized Sriracha could have actually done in this endgame was nothing. If this is a Sword Stance Iron Boulder, you just sit there, hit swords. What is it going to do? It's going to Will-O-Wisp you, but it's going to die to the Toxic way sooner. Like, turns and turns sooner. And you can only really go for that since it's fully revealed its moveset. Oh yeah, see, there was, I think in the chat here we were kind of talking about it. Yeah, and here I even mentioned you could have clicked swords 4 times and just waited. That is an option. And I forget if at one point, I think he mentioned to me that this may have been swords, but, you know, it is what it is. I think overall this was a really great game, I think, for Sriracha. Really, really close one, too. You know, a 1-0 finish is down to the wire, but I think for the most part, he actually played this one really, really nicely. There were a couple moments, I think, where Ventus maybe had fumbled the bag a little bit. I think potentially leaving the Ogerpon to the very, very end may have been a little bit rough. I would have liked to see Ogerpon actually come out a bit sooner to try and get some damage down. Sure, it doesn't look amazing into this team, but then at that point you can think, okay, maybe you could let it go, or you could just bring it in a little bit sooner till maybe, like, I don't know. It just has good coverage and has good damage. Like, Ivy Cudgel could just beat stuff down, you know. I'm looking at, like, a Lecky. It's not bulky in the slightest, really. A Cudgel would really do a number on it, among other things. But, yeah, no, I think this was actually a really cool game to watch. I do mention as well, the Toxic Spike kind of went crazy, and I really liked it. I think that T-Spike's innovation with the Masquerada was really great into this matchup, especially after getting rid of Revavroom. I wasn't sure how Sriracha was going to navigate that, but I guess when it's given out for free in the early game, makes it a bit easier. So, really good game for Sriracha. A little bit of a slip, I think, for Ventus, but you know, I think this is the matchup got way harder after losing like Revavroom and Ursaluna early, and potentially even the Probe House losing both your steel types so early is a bit rough, I think, into this matchup, especially because there's like a Petulant and a like Grimmsnarl and even Masquerada who can't really deal with it. So a little bit of a rough way there, but you know, a win is a win. So really good game there. Trying to decide what our next one is here because we got some options. We could do a Hakurai game. I think that'd be fine. But do we do week 4 or 5? I think week 4 is a little bit closer, so we'll do that. It's a bit more interesting probably to talk about. So let us find it. I'll scroll up a little bit here. So this was Haku versus Boba, and Boba's kind of been, up till I think today, has been doing really, really well. I think up through week 5, Boba's gone through a bit of a tear through the Unova division, being one of the 3 titans, as it were, to have flawless records up to this point. So this is going to be a pretty cool game, I think. The loss was 2-0, I think, again, against Haku, so the win went to Boba. But I think a 2-0 is a lot closer, a little bit more interesting than the other one. So we'll take a look at this one here. I'm going to set this to slow. So look at Haku's team. It looks very similar to something he brought, I think, earlier in the season. Mew is his pet Pokemon in the draft, so that's showing up every week basically. I really like the Metagross as well. I think though it's gonna have a really, really hard time because there is a Landorus, a Volcarona, a Torterra, and a Gastrodon. There are 4, count them, 4, super effective stabs. 3 of them are ground and 1 of them is a Volcarona, which is kind of counters a lot of things. Counters my will to live sometimes. But that one I think is going to be... I think there will be angles for the Metagross, but it's going to be really tough, I think, in this game in particular. Moving down the line here, we got Dachshund. Kind of another pet Pokemon, I think, for Haku. I think it may have... I think it struggles a bit into this team comp. There's just not a lot of things that you can reliably start to maybe set up on, but there is some utility with Dachshund. It can actually switch in potentially on a Volcarona read to get its big body off, but then after that I don't know what you do. But I think there's some avenue for it. It's going to be hard, but I think there's some potential. Rotom Wash actually I kind of like here. It is still really awkward given that there is a Landorus, or not a Landorus, sorry, there is a Torterra, and then especially there's this Gastrodon. Gastrodon just hard walls this thing completely and utterly. So I think if he's able to clear Gastro, Rotom Wash gets a little bit easier of a path to the end. But Rotom being Rotom, it still gets things like Will-O-Wisp and Hex, Pain Split. It's got options for buttons it can kind of click. So it's not like he's completely dead in the water there. So should be cool to see how he approaches it. Great Tusk is here. I mean, it's Great Tusk. Literally, you can't... It's hard to leave home without it. Mon is just super, super strong, and with it can take pretty much anything. Rocky Helmet, it can take Leftovers, can take Booster. I've seen it go hyper offensive, and of course a lot of people like to play bulky, mostly like to rely on it as a spinner. And it is admittedly one of the top 5 best spinners in the draft format, so it will be really cool to see. And lastly, and certainly not least, is this Altaria. I don't really know what Altaria is supposed to do into this matchup. Maybe Cloud9 clear out the Sandstorm from Tyranitar. Sure, I guess. That's kind of cool. But, I can kind of see this being a decent stop to Volcarona. At the very least, you can take a hit or two. And then because you are a dragon, you will be able to potentially stay in front of the Torterra, but because of your flying typing, it's a little awkward. And same goes for even the Gastrodon, because Gastros tend to run Ice Beam for as its damaging move. And I think with Terra, there's a chance it could still pull off some really cool stuff, but we'll see. Because I don't remember what this game was. This is over 2 weeks ago. And now looking at Boba's team, we are seeing the Landorus Therian come out, which great pick. I hate this thing, and I'm so glad in Regulation H for VGC it's getting banned. Thank God. I'm so happy. I suck, and I am one of those people who kind of hate on Landorus because I'm bad at the game. But hey, there's Volcarona. Volcarona I think is still really good here. I think if this gets up, to maybe even a third if you're crazy Quiver Dances, you win. Period. So we'll see if this Volk is able to get in the right position. It will have to contend with rocks off of potentially the Mew or the Great Tusk, but the problem is it can also just kind of revenge them out. depending on positioning. Torterra, I think, is really great. I just really like it, but I think it kind of struggles a bit into like Altaria in a way, depending on who gets priority. But offensively, I think Torterra looks really, really good into Haku's team. Being part grass and ground gives it this kind of interesting like defensive typing into this particular matchup, because Haku at face value is not showing any ice moves beside maybe Ice Spinner off of the Raging or the Great Tusk. So it will be interesting to kind of see how that one plays out. Gastrodon is here, and I mean, it's Gastrodon. It's super beefy. It's got a couple of really great abilities, Storm Drain, and even Sandforce if you're kind of deranged. I mean, there is a Tyranitar, so it could happen. I'm not against the idea, and I think it could actually be really, really cool. And I'm going to gloss over Tyranitar because it's just Tyranitar. It's just really beefy, it's really fat, slow as shit, but it does good damage. So I suspect it's still going to be able to put in some work over the course of this game. And then lastly is the Sneasler. Big fan of Sneasler. I know a few players have been experimenting with it quite a bit. I know in the other division, JC has been experimenting with it a decent amount through the first half of the season. Unburden is just so powerful, and with Sneasler, it's so easy. You can take almost anything, and you will accidentally get your boost off. So we'll see how it goes. Here we go. The leads are, there's the Mew, and it is staring down the Landorus. So interestingly, both Poke players just picked their first thing. Mew actually going for a Dragon Dance is a bit deranged, and there's a U-turn out of the Landorus, dealing a healthy 40%, allowing the Volcarona to just kind of come in here. But now this is and there's a Rock Blast from the Mew, and the crit on the second hit, and it rolls 3. I think this might be loaded die Dragon Dance Mew, which is crazy. Actually, super cool. And there's a fake out, nails the crit, and procs a normal gem to unburden the Sneasler. Now this thing is unleashed. There's a Shadow Claw at plus basically double speed, and it will easily get that KO. And here's the Metagross. I don't know if I would have switched it in here, but interestingly, there's a switch out into the Landorus, but the Clear Body prevents a set drop. Psychic Fangs is click, but it's bulky Landorus Therian with Rocky Helmet dealing back a bit of that damage. Goes for the Stealth Rocks here too, and is actually still fast enough, and it U-turns out in front of this Rotom. And here comes the Torterra, probably reading the wrong move though, probably reading the Thunder or the T-Wave, but there's a Will-O-Wisp, and it eats the Lumberry to clear it. And there's a Terra Grass. I think he's just trying to go for it. Oh, the Shell Smash is a little greedy, especially after you know there's a Will-O-Wisp option, but there's a second Wisp, kind of resetting that attack boost. Really now putting this Torterra in an awkward position. So do you stay in? And I guess you do, because that's a Wood Hammer to the dome, and it'll get that KO really nicely. I mean, sure, I gotta remind myself it's basically 120 Grass Stab with Terra. That'll do damage. And there's the Dash Bun landing on the rocks. There's a switch out actually from Boba into the Gastrodon, and there's a Roar phasing in Tyranitar. Little awkward. You don't really want to be here, I think, if you're Tyranitar. I would consider just switching, but there's a Body Press. It doesn't KO, actually, even at 4 times effective. And there's a D-Dance, but, I don't know if this is going to outspeed, because Tyranitar is just so slow. But it actually will outspeed, and there's the crit Stone Edge. I'm not even sure if that crit mattered, but, he got it anyway. Metagross comes back in here, but I don't know if this... there's the Bullet Punch actually getting the KO. I forgot I got that. That's a really big pickup, because I thought for a second this Tyranitar was going to start going on a tear, but tragically, its run will be stopped short. There's a switch in for Landorus, scares out the Metagross for Great Tusk, and the Great Tusk will just eat an Earthquake for 27%. And it'll heal back up a little bit, showing that it does in fact carry the leftovers. There's a manual switch straight into the Gastrodon here. I kind of like this, but there's a Stealth Rock coming out from Haku. The late game turn 15 Stealth Rock, better late than never, and he's actually able to clear his with a Rapid Spin, but will take an Ice Beam to the dome for his troubles. And now actually this Gastro is kind of putting in some work here, getting the Roaring Moon, or the the Great Tusk down a lot is really nice, but there's an Earth Power hitting the Metagross on the switch in for 62%. Gastrodon actually is about to go crazy here. Hold on. The Metagross goes for the knockoff, gets rid of that leftovers, but doesn't get any kind of KO, not enough meaningful damage there, and it'll go down to a follow-up Earth Power, which crit for some reason because that was necessary. Gastrodon switches out here in the face of the Great Tusk into Landorus. Landorus actually, Great Tusk going for the close combat in front of the Intimidate, dealing no damage, and actually still hurting itself on that Rocky Helmet and giving itself its defense drops. Now it's a little awkward, but I guess he goes for the attack and actually gets the crit for the KO into Landorus, ignoring the attack drop. Huge kill, I think, but it might still be a bit too little too late here for Haku, because there's a fake out. That's a BM crit if I've ever seen one, but you know, never didn't have, I suppose. But this, this Sneasler goes for the Dire Claw, just gets that easy KO, and now we're just stuck in the background with this Altaria. I would be remiss if I didn't express my hopes that maybe this Altaria would have come out a little bit sooner, because I think had it come out earlier to potentially try to wrestle out the Tyranitar, I'm not sure if it would have done very well, but you know, it's probably a little bit better than being the last Mon in the squad. And there's actually a Cotton Guard clicked from Haku for that +3 defense. One of the only moves that will say drastically rose a stat. So really, really cool there. And there's actually the Terra into Fairy here to make yourself a budget Mega Altaria. And I think there, Boba forgot or just clicked the wrong button, because I don't think he meant to click Yawn there. I think he was home for Ice Beam, and now he's just gonna go for the Ice Beam spam, but oh, there's a little Parahax there for Boba in Boba's favor against Haku. And he's just going to continue to go for those Ice Beams, but I think the Gastro is going to go down, not in this one, but to the second Moonblast. So he's just going for Ice Beams, and really here, I didn't understand why. Because you could go for Earth Power for a bit more damage, because this is no longer a flying type. And he's still getting lucky, and I'm annoyed. He does not deserve this. Like, I think if you were clicking Earth Power there, this game would have ended a little bit sooner. Quite a bit sooner, because you at least get stabbed. But there's this, Caesar switches in, actually goes for the Fake Out, dealing a bit of damage, but actually hurts itself on that Rocky Helmet for a decent amount. And it actually will trade. Hold on a minute. That is incorrect, because the Sneasler went down. And this is part of the why we do these streams, ladies and gentlemen, is so I can review games to correct my goddamn staff, because that is just straight up wrong. Because Sneasler does go down. And the Altaria actually gets a KO. Hold on a second. What? Because Altaria KOs Gastro here, I think. I think right here. Yeah, so this Altaria should actually have 2. 2, 3, 4, 5. 3 error. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There we go. Much better. It does affect the standings a little bit, but we're just making the proper corrections, so yeah, I think it is what it is. Okay. Let's go back to the schedule. Or rather, let's go back to that game. Hold up, where'd it go? There we go. So, oh man, really, this game was super close. I mean, I was talking about it over a Discord call after it was played, and to me, this game was down to the wire. I mean, obviously it was 1-0, but like the fact that the only thing left in the, behind was a basically dead Torterra. With no item, no way to clear the burn. All it has is Shell Smash, which probably just gets it killed. This Torterra is not in a good positioned to do anything. So I think Boba actually did get maybe a little bit lucky with some of those hacks. Maybe he just saves a few turns, but um, this one was super close and actually was super enjoyable to watch. I'm like shaking a little. I'm actually a little sweaty after watching that game, and partially it's because it's like 84 degrees and it's humid as shit. I live in Hawaii. That's what it is. But really well done, I think, for both players. Really, really cool game to watch. Definitely better than getting swept. So I like that for both of them here. So let's go on to our next one. And I'm still referencing just week 5 games because to me it's a little bit easier. And I'll do the Capon versus Clear River one. So Clear River does kind of get looked at twice here, but I don't really feel like talking about in a Spathra. Or rather, not even a Spathra, Iron Valiant. So we'll go to week 5 here for Nook versus Big Kieran. And this one I remember was pretty interesting and in a way also pretty heartbreaking because it was actually really close. Where the fuck is it? Where actually the fuck is it? Oh, here it is. Whoa, what the fuck? Okay, that was weird. Okay, sorry about that. Come on, there we go. Alright, so this is an interesting one. I actually quite enjoyed this game. I remember watching it. And up till about the very end, I was like on the edge of my seat. And then I kind of leaned back and was like, oh, fuck, whatever. So we got Nook versus Big Kieran. Fucking, whatever. So Big Kieran, or Nook rather, has a team that I actually quite like. He's got Cleavor, which to me is one of the best hazard setter mons in the game. This thing is really, really strong. It has a lot of flexibility, and I know that he hasn't really played to its bulk, but Cleavor actually has respectable bulk. It has a decently high HP stat and actually physical defense stat, with a bit of special defense actually that you could probably invest into. When I played VGC for a bit, I actually used to go Assault Vest, and even just that Assault Vest change made it weirdly durable. This is a non-Terra draft league where you can't Terra everything. There's only the Terra Captain system, but Terra Cleavor is really, really strong. Maybe one of my favorites. So really happy actually he did pick up the Cleavor and he is using it here. I think he's used it for most of his week, so it's kind of neat. My only issue is I seen him use Air Slash with this thing and I want to slap him. But anyway. The rest of his team kind of... Oh my god, it's 3 future paradoxes. So we got Latios. Not much to say about Latios. This thing has historically been very, very strong. It's a really good, really fast special attacker. Dragon Psychic is actually, I think, a decent typing offensively. Not so much defensively these days, but, you are still a dragon, so you get all those sweet benefits. But unfortunately, you do open yourself up to a couple other weaknesses, like Psychic, or, Ghost, Dark, Bug, after your Psychic typing. So there's no real overlap there. You kind of open yourself up just to both defend, the good and bad of both types, with no real overlap to cover yourself. But Latios still has a lot of offensive power. You can really go to town with like Draco Meteor, Specs, like Specs and Scarf Latios were a staple way back in the day, like Gen 5 and 6. So it's really cool to see that Latios is making an appearance here. We got fucking Iron Treads. Just a good spinner. It does some stuff. I don't really know. It's a good mon though. Big thing I know is just fucking rapid spins, and is kind of deal about a nice amount of damage. For whatever reason, I've seen it play special. I've seen it play physical. So it's pretty good. I think it's maybe positioned decently well into Big Kieran's draft, but I'm not 100% sold. There is a duck, so yeah, I gotta really temper my expectations. Next is this Weavile. Weavile also another mon that has a bit of a history. You know, it's a really fast, very, very frail, like, dark ice type, which is weird because dark ices, you just die to a Mach Punch off of like a Hitmontop, but you still get access to like triple axle for a really nice physical ice stab. You still get knockoff. I mean, it's knockoff. What do you want me to say? It's really good for getting some offensive chip damage and also getting rid of items. And in singles, I think a little bit more so than doubles. Maybe not. Okay, maybe that's not exactly true, but getting rid of items is really, really powerful. It's a really strong effect. Being able to just take that option away from an opponent's mon could make or break it. It definitely does change the math, and sometimes that's all you need. And then to kind of round it out, there is an Iron Hands and an Iron Moth, a couple more future Pokemon. Iron Hands was super bulky. I mean, it's pretty much all front-loaded stat-wise into like HP and physical attack, with basically nothing to be heard of from the back half. Like, it has no special attack, no special defense, no speed. But that's fine. This thing just needs to punch holes through stuff, and there's a bunch of things it can punch. Like, it can really mess up a Cacturne. It can really even mess up, like, Gliscor, Landorus, or Thundurus Therian, and even Baxcalibur. So I think Iron Hands is positioned really, really, really well this week into Kieran's team. And this Iron Moth, I think also has some good, really great potential to get some work done. Iron Moth can, you can kind of run it as like a setup sweeper. You can also kind of like chill out a little bit with it. Not really. You mostly just kind of go hard. You just swing, which is fine. Really no issue with going down with that style, in my opinion. And as for Kieran's team, he's got a few interesting picks here. I remember talking to him about this, and I thought that my favorite pick was this Cacturne. I think in particular this Cacturne is maybe positioned pretty well into this comp, because you could actually get a lot of damage off onto Latios with just a rogue Sucker Punch. And even after, I think after a few of these mons get weakened down a little bit more, Sucker Punches actually can start taking names, which is incredible. That's so good. And, you know, of course, there's, you know, things that I think just fit really well together. I think Latios, or not Latios, rather, what was it called? Clefable is really good into Latios. If Latios goes for, like, some kind of setup, like it's if it's a Calm Mind variant, Clefable with Unaware, I think it's Unaware, yeah, can just kind of stare at it, click Moonblast, and scare it. Similarly, if this is like a Magic Guard Clefable, you can avoid hazard damage, which is really good, and like you can even take residual, you know, status moves from like maybe a burn or a poison or something. Baxcalibur, I think, looks a little bit rough, but I think, I mean, it's Baxcalibur. Once you set up with it, you can kind of just kill everything. Maybe a little bit more challenging, I think, given the Iron Hands and potentially Iron Moth, but I mean, if you just take Earthquake, you're going to get some damage out. Like, 4 of these are weak to Earthquake, so it's going to be interesting to see what kind of preparation Kieran has put into this. I've already talked about the Cacturne, but then the first 3 mons, you know, being Quaquaval, Thundurus, and Gliscor, I feel like we need no real introduction. Quaquaval, once it gets KO, can really start to steamroll a game by itself, which is crazy. Thundurus Therian, I think, is just a really good offensive piece. It does have the... Jesus Christ. Sorry, was trying to check something. See if my stream audio was good. My bad. But Thundurus can really get some good damage down. I think its ability Volt Absorb is really nice. Not so much into this matchup because there's not a lot of electric spam. It's just Iron Hands, and it's probably going to be clicking Ice Punch more than than Thunder Punch. So not so great. But I think it still has potential to just get some good damage down. At the very least, it just hits really hard. It's like basically 145 special attack or some nonsense. So at the very least, it's pretty good. And then, yeah, there's a Gliscor. What do you want me to say? It's a goddamn Gliscor. Just a really, really good mon. And, like, if you kind of leave it alone, it kind of sort of just sets up. Or not really set up, but, like, it can put itself into a really good position to just never die, unless it gets hit by a Rogue Ice Punch. So let's see how this one goes. I remember this one was a loss, and I was very upset at how it ended. So we'll see if I remember why I was upset. So there's a protect as Cleaver goes for the Stone Axe, just trying to set up its rocks, which is fine. That's pretty normal. That's pretty bog standard. Glasgow gets his Toxic up, which is great. There's the Stone Axe setting up the rocks. Notably, the only real spin opportunity Big Karen has is actually if this Quaquaval has Rapid Spin, but otherwise it's not a whole lot. And there's a goddamn Air Slash. Why? I guess it's an option. If it rolls the flinch, that's hilarious, and I'll be really upset about it. There's a switch out into Weavile, though. I'm not sure if I would have done this, though. But it does show that it has boots. We'll take that Earthquake to the face. Kind of live it, actually, pretty nicely. And there's a Triple Axle. 1, 2... and it lives? That's so bullshit. That is so disrespectful. Gliscor's staying in there. You should never stay in there. But here we are, I guess. There's a switch out into the Clefable. Like I mentioned, Clefable I think looks really great here. Takes that Ice Beam to the face. Really doesn't mind it whatsoever. Heals a bit back off of the lefties. Both of them actually showing lefties. But there's a switch into Iron Moth. Oh, fuck me. Excuse me. Gets off that sweet special attack Cork Drive, which is kind of interesting. I may have considered speed, but, you know, special attack is just really great. There's a switch out confoundingly into this Baxcalibur, but there's a T-Spikes. But I don't think this is... Yeah, no, this just died to that D-Gleam. And here comes Cacturne. And this is... I don't know if he goes for it here, but this is what I was talking about. Yeah, there's a Sucker Punch off of Cacturne, and it kills an Iron Moth. Like, that is actually super crazy to me. You know, he takes a bit of damage from the poison, the toxic, gets a bit of chip, but getting that KO is really, really nice, and actually a really good show of, you know, potentially there's, you know, there's some real power in that Cacturne. It switches out here into the Gliscor as Iron Hands is the switch in. Takes a Rock Slide to the face and lives it really nicely, but goes for the Protect to, or not Protect rather. It actually takes he goes for an Earthquake to get damage down, but will lose its life for the process. I'm not sure if that's the best trade. Like, Gliscor actually has the potential to heal all the way back up to full, so I'm not sure why you wouldn't have considered it. But Clefable comes in, takes a Rock Slide to the face, does not mind it really whatsoever, and does kind of show that it is, in fact, Magic Guard by not taking any poison damage. As it goes for a Wish turn here, there's the Moonblast. It's resisted by this Iron Treads, but 26% is still decent. Definitely pretty good, and the Wish lands onto Clef. And interestingly, there's an Ice Spinner out of the Iron Treads, but another also kind of interesting is the Ice Beam from Clefable. Not what I would have expected. But there's an Iron Head. Actually rolls the flinch. I think if the flinch didn't happen, there was a chance that this Iron Tread just dies to a random Ice Beam. And there's the Rapid Spin to clear out hazards. Not like this thing wasn't fast enough already. And there's an Ice Beam. Doesn't KO. 32% left. Oh man, I think this Clef is going to lose its life for this. Yeah, and it'll go down to another Iron Head. Very unfortunate. I think that if it had stayed up, it would have been a little bit easier for Kieran. But there's the Terra Ghost Ice Spinner, and there's some counter T-Spikes? And it dies. Like, why? I don't like that play at all, to be honest. But here comes the Quaquaval, and I think this is where I got sad, because I found out this Quaquaval is, in fact, it's banded. So, even with the Moxie Boost and Stab, you know, it kills the Iron Treads very easily, but here's the Latios, and the Step doesn't kill if it wasn't banded. You could go for Ice Spinner, and it actually would have KO'd at +1. So, oh man, very brutal. And lastly is just this Thunderous. It's not going to outspeed, and it'll actually just straight up go down to Latios. So, GG. I definitely think Kieran, if he didn't have the banded Quaquaval, would have been way easier. Like, being able to... I think the move flexibility is just way better, and generally Boots is probably safer of, like, an option. on Quick Quavel. I think that's a little bit easier than going banded, because going a choice item, in my opinion, is just difficult because you lock yourself in. And I just think with Quick Quavel, you don't ever really want to be locking yourself into one move. You really, really want to benefit from that flexibility. But otherwise, oh damn, that one was close. Like, almost guaranteed, if the Quick Quavel had the ability, like had its options, it would have killed all three of these and it would have been a victory. But overall, really close game. That was literally the only thing I didn't like. Maybe losing back Excalibur super early also was maybe something I didn't enjoy, but you know, it's really hard to deal with that Iron Moth, so good on him for actually finding at least some kind of an avenue to bring it down. Because, oh man, I tell you, a setup Iron Moth, go crazy. And I think if it was like booster speed or something, this game may have just been over. But alas, we had, in a good way, we had a game, which is great. And I know after this game, Kieran is now on the warpath. He is looking for blood. He wants to fight his last two opponents are the first and like the two of the top players right now in his division, and he's already played the other one earlier in the season. He's played Cat Bomb, so it'll be really interesting to see how he goes about this now, as you get to the end of the season. Hold on, sorry. I also want to eat some cookies I got. Alright. Where are we? Okay. So we'll do the Cat Bomb Clear River game at some point, but we're going to keep moving on to Hachiari versus Unova. If I remember, this one was kind of neat. If I can find it. What's wild to me is Hachiari is a new player. I know she hasn't played competitive Pokemon really ever, but holy shit, she's on a tear. Well, look at these teams. I'm gonna go a little bit faster because it's already been like about an hour. Nanomop is bringing kind of just exactly what he's brought almost every week, with, you know, some variation. He's got this nasty Suncore with Burning Bulwark, fuck me. Gouging Fire, Walking Leg, Torkoal, and sometimes Leafeon. I think this time he's brought the Leafeon, probably to look at the Quagsire, maybe even Iron Bundle. Leafeon, I think, kind of does pretty well into those, so it'll be interesting to see how they fare. And to round out the team, there's a Galarian Slowking, which I can't imagine will do anything else beside maybe set up or switch. Maybe even get some damage down, because it can do a good amount of damage. And with Regenerator, it's going to recover as it pivots around a bunch. And lastly is his Honchkrow, and I know his Honchkrow is like his favorite thing because of the move Comeuppance. And I really like that tech. It is super cool and super nasty. And he's shown that he's able to pilot and control it really well. So I am excited to see if he decides to bring it out again this game. I don't remember if he does or not. But as far as, but for Hachiari, this is a little bit of a different team here. You know, there's some familiar faces, you know, Iron Bundle, Corviknight, Garchomp, Quagsire all here. And this time there is the Slowking and actually the Hoopa Unbound. And I think Hoopa it's an interesting pick. I don't know if I would have brought it, but Hoopa Unbound does have a lot of threat potential with, you know, just by existing. It's got some nasty stats to work with and some great stabs, and there really isn't any bug users. Maybe I forget if one of these gets U-turned, but Hoopa, I think, if it's set up right, can go for its own kind of tear through the team, but let's just get into it here. Hi. I really want to eat this cookie. Hold on. There we go. I also sometimes forget that I upload these to my YouTube channel. So sometimes there's like much nonsense. I like weird pauses because I have to like mute and do something. cheers. I'm too lazy and kind of too stupid to put in timestamps for each game, so deal with it. Fuck, it's hot as shit. God damn it. I hate summer. Anyway. Here we go. Let's get into this game. Here are the leads. There is a... What the fuck? There's Garchomp staying at this Torkoal. As Chomp actually goes for the sub, Torkoal going for the Wisp and will biff into the sub, which is crazy. That's such a smart call. This feels like maybe substitute. I don't know if it's bulky Chomp or if it's like sweeper Chomp, but here's a Gouging Fire with boosted speed? Whoa, okay. That's weird. Really cool though. And there's a Scale Shot, and oh, this is offensive Chomp, but it's dead. It goes down to the 4 hitting Scale Shot there. So this is actually like loaded die Raging Gouging Fire, which is really cool. Goes to the switch out as Quagsire comes in. There's the rocks on the switch turn. And there's a switch out actually straight into the Corviknight, probably expecting a Toxic, but there's a Light Screen instead. And actually, I quite like that a bit more. Bulk up. Okay, well, there's the bulk up actually from the, Corviknight, and weirdly a Weather Ball out of Slowking. Not sure what that's supposed to do, but there's a second bulk up on the switch turn in front of the Gouging Fire. Heat Crash comes out, does a lot of damage, but it lives. And there's a third bulk up, which is so greedy. Healing a bit off of them leftovers, but there's a switch out. Really smart. Shouldn't stay in on that into the Quagsire, and Quagsire does not mind. He'll take that damage any day of the week. And this is actually interesting because it's stalling out the Light Screen, and there it goes. Slowking comes out here. I'm not sure if that's the right call because it's going to take the Earthquake very badly. 64% off of Quag. Quagsire is not known for its offensive pressure, and there's just a lot of switching here, and I think really Nautomop is now giving up a lot of tempo, which is, I think, going to hurt, but he's regained a bit there with the eject button Torkoal, bringing the Leafeon to stare down this Quagsire. This Quagsire's got to go. Oh, he goes for the Protect. Eats that Solar Blade really easy. And actually, this might be kind of smart, because you start to stall out some of those Sun turns, and each one counts. Corviknight comes back in here, showing the pressure. Solar Blade clicks. Takes no damage because it's a Corviknight after all, and healing a little bit actually off of those leftovers. And again, we're stalling out those Sun turns. Torkoal does come in here for some reason, but there's a Roost getting the free heal off into the little dicky there, and the Corviknight starts going for bulk ups, and I wonder, there's a Rapid Spin actually from the Torkoal to clear those hazards. But now I have to wonder, what are the other two moves on this thing? I actually forgot. And there's a switch right into Quagsire. Quagsire not gonna mind, but he will take that burn, unfortunately, and that burn is going to sting, because it means Earthquake is not going to be hitting nearly as hard as it used to, but that might be okay. There's a Stealth Rock here. Earthquake still comes out, and will finish off the Torkoal. And really, I think that was poorly timed, because now there's no more Sun for the rest of this game. Leafeon comes in, the Quagsire is going to stall out a little bit to set up, to block a hit with the Protect, and there's the manual Sun actually out of the Leafeon, which is super cool. Corviknight does come back in here at near full HP, not very damaged whatsoever. It will take another Solar Blade to the dome and not mind whatsoever. 13% is nothing to a Corviknight. There's a switch into the Walking Wake as the double switch, bringing in the Slowking. That's huge. Showing boots here actually as well, and there's a flip turn out of the Walking Wake, probably just to reposition. And now we have the Slowking Mirror, and there's a Chilly Reception to actually take away the Sun. And here's the Hoopa Unbound, Little Yachty, and let's see if this does what it wants to do. There's a knockoff, gets the KO, getting rid of that pesky Rocky Helmet, gets chip in for sure. But this Hoopa is looking really good. There is no more Sun. There's a crunch, and it actually is going to live that pretty well here. And there's a knock, dealing another good chunk of damage. Getting rid of the choice band. So what I'm hearing is he actually got lucky on that turn 1. And there's a crit, so yeah, sure, I guess my man is getting lucky. Not like the crit mattered. I think the crunch was going to kill anyway, but the crit just kind of feels bad. And there's Iron Bundle, actually revealing that it is Boots. And there's a crit on that Ice Beam in the snow for some big damage. And actually we'll get that kill. Here's the Haunch Crow, the biggest bird. There's a flip turn. Right into Corviknight. So does this go for the comeuppance, hoping that it lived the Ice Beam and reverse it, revenge kills? It does. But 35% into the Corviknight is not a whole lot. It's going to just heal it all back off with that singular roost, and comeuppance kind of blown there a little bit. And he goes for, again, Manual Sun, which I kind of like, actually. Really cool to try and go for those kinds of strategies, you know, to set yourself up, even if your main setter goes down. But there's a U-turn into the Corv, and here comes the Walking Wake. Now this is a little awkward, because I don't know, I don't think you stay in here. I think you just... Oh, my ass, I guess. It's Power Trip fucking Corviknight, that's so funny. And there is the switch around here, repositioning, as Slowking actually goes for the switch out to get rid of the Sun, hopefully for the last time, but got a couple manual Sunsetters. Lil Peep now goes for the Ice Beam in the snow, gets that easy KO stab into the Leaf Yacht, and now we're down to the last couple turns here, I think. You know, Walking Wake's going to come back out here, but Freeze Dry gets the kill easily. Really crispy, gets that nice quad, super effective. Gotta remember that it is Freeze Dry is uniquely super effective against water types. There's a Sucker Punch, does some damage, I think, just as a final swing at the face, but it will go down to the Ice Beam. So really well played, actually, by Hachiari. This team feels so different every time, and yet so familiar, and it's so good. I think Natamop got maybe a little too... I think maybe is getting a little too stuck in a rut, as it were. Finding himself kind of maybe stuck in a routine. But I guess that is a bit of a consequence of his draft being, in a way, one-dimensional. I don't know if I like that phrasing, but Natamop has drafted this really hard Sun team, so in a sense, it does feel weird to not play to your team's benefits. But there are definitely some mons that I think could be seeing a bit more shine. Garganackle is great. There's some really cool picks. Like I don't think Skull Villain has appeared at all this season. And even Reuniclus and Clodsire, both are really great mons. I think Claude has appeared, but I'm not sure about. I don't think the Reuniclus has ever showed up. And I definitely think Reuniclus has quite a bit of play here, but it just seems like maybe he's not taking it. I'm not sure why. That could be something that Natamop works on for future games, is maybe diversifying and really sampling out the whole array of tools at his disposal. Because sorry, my nose is so fucking itchy. But I think there's actually a lot of potential for other Pokemon options, especially like Scovillain, I think could see some play. It's definitely a mon that I personally doubt immensely, but I think, I would be more than happy if someone proved me wrong that it's actually really powerful. So, I think good game still. Both players did really well. Natamop, I kind of hope maybe you start looking at, maybe you could explore some other options, because the Sun team is really strong, but you can still kind of play the Sun with a little extra some extra flair. I still like the Corviknight, or not Corviknight, rather the Haunch Crow. Comeuppance is such a cool tech piece, but I think people are maybe getting a little bit more aware of it, so that could be something to consider, like revising or something. So let's keep it going here. Let's talk about We talked about milk tea, but we gotta talk about a Sirag game, so we'll just do this one. So week 5 we had Sirag versus Milk Tea Boba, and to me, up until pretty much at the end of week 5, you know, Boba I think was standing really tall. Had 5 wins in a row, which is crazy good. Looked really, really good heading out of week 4 in particular. You know, coming off of a pretty tight 2-0. But let's talk about this week 5 game here, if I can find it. I'm also going to use this time to eat more of these cookies. Nice. Fuck. I don't eat them. They taste pretty good. They're like these kind of buttery, like those like waffle cookies that like pretty much everywhere has, except like parts of fucking America, I guess. But they're from Korea. They taste pretty nice. Kind of light, just crunchy. See, it's moments like this where probably would be good if I knew how to use the what the fuck is it called? Timestamp. Jesus fuck, I'm tired. The timestamp setting stuff. But nah, fuck you guys. Anyway. Here we go. We got Milk Tea, we got Boba rocking a pretty cool team. I mean, by pretty cool, I mean this looks pretty familiar. Got some really nice hitters, some classics like Tyranitar, Landorus, Therian, Volcarona, Caesar. You know, all these have really good history, and all of them are really, really strong Pokemon. I think of the 4, Tyranitar is maybe the worst, unfortunately, but I think being able to set up Sand is really nice, potentially into most games. And of the 6, actually, Bellybolt I think is maybe the coolest pick to bring this into this week. It is actually pretty strong, I think. Fairly respectable. It has actually good bulk and actually potentially good damage output as well. Electromorphosis, giving it a charge stack when it's hit is actually really nice because you can take a hit, especially if it's a special attack, get the charge special defense boost, and now you're just a little bit more inconvenient, and then your punch back is going to be really good because this thing probably does it, like has maybe Thunderbolt or some other electric move just to get some good damage through, so it will hit fairly hard, deceptively hard I would say is a good way to phrase it. And then of course there's Roaring Moon, and Roaring Moon oftentimes has kind of been showing itself to be a really great acrobatics abuser with booster energies. I've also seen people play Bandit or Scarfed. Dragon Dance is great. Lots of options with this thing, and that's why it deserves its point total. Only problem is it's quad weak to Fairy, but you know that's this is what happens when you're Hydreigon typed. And looking at Sirag's team, really interesting kind of Firewater Grass core in a really traditional sense. There's a Ogerpon for grass, an Infernape for fire, and a Primarina for water. I think Prima actually looks pretty good here. Might serve as a nice answer to Volcarona, although it may still prove difficult. You know, we'll just have to see how it shakes out. But I do also think it's positioned really nicely, potentially into the Roaring Moon. It may not want to take a hit, but a Moonblast will scare this out, no problem. Well, maybe not no problem, but you know, it could work. Sableye, I think, has been like a really good prankster, like setup mon, and I think could have some use in this game. I mean, if nothing else, it's going to apply some status. It's going to maybe set up screens. Just be overall just kind of annoying. So should be interesting. Okay. Looking at this team again, Sableye. Infernape is kind of cool. I think it looks decent into this team. It's going to struggle into a couple things like Landorus and Volcarona, but it's also going to do really well into potentially like Tyranitar and Caesar. So it's a bit of a mixed bag, but it has some, some flex play. Could be physical, could be special. Could even be mixed if you're a bit deranged. So in that way, in respect, it's kind of cool. Ogerpon Wellspring is just like one of my favorites. I just love Ogerpon. I think she's one of the best Pokemon Game Freak has made. It's period. I think it's great. And definitely really, really good. So I could see it doing really well. If it's getting put into a right position, it goes crazy against like Landorus. Can actually go after Tyranitar, maybe even Roaring Moon if you're like Trailblaze, and then get off a Play Rough. Play Rough actually I think just kills it because it's quad super effective. So it'll be really interesting. I don't remember how this game went. Well, okay, that's a lie. I of course know how the game went, but I don't remember the turns. So we'll see. And lastly, there is a Kingambit and a Kyurem, both of which are generally really scary, although Kingambit to me feels a little hard to use in this matchup. There's nothing that it hits like super effectively, but I mean, at worst it's still a Kingambit. Click Sucker Punch probably gets some good damage down, but I'm not 100% sure. Might be a bit of a challenge in this matchup. And then Kyurem, I think, does pretty well into a few of these, but if it gets outsped, it kind of still folds. It is still pretty bulky, like it's really fat, but I don't know if it can. It needs to do the damage it wants to before it goes, and I'm just not sure if it's able to do that in this matchup. But we will see. I'm also going to be a little quiet for a bit because I'm going to eat this last cookie. So we'll just watch these turns. Pro to attack. Dang. Wait. Okay. Immediately switched out though. Well, there's a double switch. This is not a good one for Shirag. There's the Swords Dance. Flip turn. Okay. That's not bad. Get some chip damage, although so scary. Oh wow. They're straight up the Flare Blitz KO into the Caesar. I thought for sure he was going to try and go for some priority, but I guess not. There's a switch out. And now this is awkward because he switched. There's a Moonblast. Moonblast chunking actually for 57 into just Landorus. And there's a U-turn. And they try to fish for some better positioning. There's the Belly Bolt actually. And the flip turn, the double switchers. Really, really smart there. And there's the Terra Electric with the charge boost. Takes the Earthquake because it's super fat, it lives it, and actually will just get straight the KO into this Infernape. Oh man. There's Kyurem coming back out here. Bilbo goes for the switch into Volcarona. And this just goes, it just goes for the raw Draco. That's some good damage there, and he goes for the switch. I actually would have stayed in, potentially, to go for the second Draco. Because damage is damage at the end of the day, but there's a that's a huge, okay. This is a huge turn, because now that Thunderwave missing into this Dark type is really bad. Because now he can just go for a second dance for free. Sableye sets up a screen, and it's not even the right screen. If it was Reflect, there may have been a chance, but I think that's all she wrote here. Prima comes in, takes that knockoff very badly, and just goes straight down. Kyurem comes in, gets, oh my god, the fucking crit knockoff. That's twice in a row, by the way. That's a scam. But I think it would have died anyway. Ogerpon comes in here. Still not behind the right screen, but there's an Acrobatics at a +2. The speed, it's just going to outrun everything. Ogerpon goes down. Sableye comes back in here, maybe going for Desperation Click, and it actually goes for a move here, living on his Focus Sash. Zen Headbutt. Oh my god. He must have forgot it was Dark type. And then he goes for Light Screen again. Where's the Reflect? It's very, very unfortunate. And there's the gambit at the very end here. And it just goes down to the earthquake. Not even a sucker punch. This game was a bit rough. And I think for the most part it was just that critical turn and the kind of, I don't like saying it, but I think Sableye got misused. But you know, it just opened up such a big hole for the Roaring Moon to just set up and kind of take the game away. I'm not sure. I think that may be just a knowledge check or, you know, a bit of forgetfulness, but I think it's fine. I think Sirag, you know, you learn from your mistakes, and you will never ever forget for the rest of your life that Prankster is blocked by dark types. That's, I think, the main takeaway from this game. But I think overall, like, the positioning was actually pretty decent for most of that game. It was just that one turn with the Prankster misuse kind of took it all away, because, you know, a couple of the big ones here, like 3 of these are actually quite damaged, you know, like Belly Bolt is pretty low, 48%. Landorus Therian is well within kill range of pretty much anything. Yeah, even Ogerpon at -1 I think just kills this. And like even Volcarona's a nothing, 16%. That's basically nothing. So, oh man, it's super close though. But you will never forget Prankster blocked by dark types ever again. You also probably never forget that Roaring Moon is dark dragon type. And I think for Boba, this one, you know, this is just another notch in his belt. But little spoilers for the next recap stream. I think that changes pretty soon. But you guys will see that later. But yeah, no, it was a rough loss, but I know Sirag has made some team changes between, I think there's been some team movement, I don't remember, and I'm the admin. I'm just gonna check, because I don't remember. Oh, there's been a few shifts, yeah, there's now a bear, I guess. But yeah, I think Sirag, you know, I think he's adjusted his team a little bit, so it's a bit more comfortable, potentially. Will definitely be kind of cool to see how he takes you know, his draft pretty much from here to the rest of the season, because trades are done. This is whatever you have after tonight, that's it. You're riding that all the way down, so it'll be really exciting. Sorry, just doing some admin stuff. Siege redeem drink water. Yeah, hold on, let me... Fuck, I'm out of water. Hold on, guys, I'll be right back. I'm gonna grab a little bit of water. Alright, I'm back. I got water. Much better. Okay, sorry. Need to hydrate. But, yeah, I'm done talking about this game. I think Sirag has actually still a good chance to, take a couple more wins under his belt toward the end of this season. I think maybe after some of those team adjustments to his draft. I was looking at them again while I was getting water. I think I do like some of those changes. I think they're actually quite good. Okay, so we got only a couple more games left to do, thankfully. I'm tired, so I want to get through these. We do have the opportunity to go over. We have to do a Fennec Fox game, a Clear River game, and a Cat Bomb game. So I'm gonna do. I think we'll do the Fennec Fox versus Clear River from week 5, and then we'll do Cat Bomb versus Clear River from week 4 for the Cat Bomb game. We'll do that one first, actually. Where is it? If I can find it. Come on. Week 4. There we go. We'll do the Cat Bomb game first. Alright, so this game was kind of interesting. And I don't remember how it went. Again, it was like 2 weeks ago. But Cat Bomb has kind of brought more or less the same thing he's brought most of the weeks. It's a variant of Psy Spam, that you can actually draft with in our league. With a few big sweepers, Espathras and Pulte. Pretty much like, there's just 3 big sweepers, and that's pretty much it. Espathra has been a dominant monster even through last season. Went on a tear. It had one of the best records in a single mon period. And this season with Psy Spam, it's really supporting like Iron Valiant, and I think Poltergeist a little bit too. Poltergeist has been shown to be like a weak armor Shell Smash variant with like Sash, so it lives on like no HP and then kind of juggles, just bashes face, just goes in. And an Iron Valiant oftentimes is like boost your speed, and then paired with like a Sword Stance or 2, it starts to just take names after a boost. And it can actually still defend itself with moves like Encore, and it applies a lot of offensive pressure. Being very fighting is actually such a crazy stab combination, and of course, for some reason, it still gets like knockoff and a couple of the utility moves. And then closing out the kind of the Psy side of the Psy Spam, we have like Hatterene, Armor Rouge, and Indeedee. Indeedee and Armor Rouge are best friends in doubles because of Psychic Terrain, Psychic Surge, and Armor Rouge just being a really good Psychic type. I think Cat Bomb is even favoring Armor Rouge to be like this weird kind of stally with, not really stall, but it's like it baits you into endure debond loops kind of thing. Which I can see being pretty frustrating. And then Hatterene, if you're not able to get your hazards up before Hatterene comes in, it's just going to kick them back at you with Magic Bounce. And then, of course, can bear down on you with some really good offense. It's quite bulky. Its dump set really is speed. So you will never outrun anything using Hatterene unless you Trick Room. But otherwise, it should be okay. But for Clear River, a fairly interesting team, I would say. This is a bit of a deviation from what he's brought in the past. We have Tornadus Therian making another appearance, and I think this is the week you run Dark Pulse on it. I don't remember if he did or not, but I think this is a good option. Palafin, it's Palafin. I don't know what to tell you. It hits really hard. It's really fast. It's decently fast actually, but it kind of compensates for its mid speed with Jet Punch. I don't remember if he took it, but Jet Punch is good. And hilariously, this is also a decent week for Haze Palafin because there's a lot of fast motherfuckers that want to set up really hard. So Haze actually looks decent. to really kind of reset the momentum. Go-Goat is here. I think this is probably some variant on his milk drink bulk up variant, which I don't think looks very good into this team, but I don't remember exactly what this was. And then Skarmory, Umbreon, Smeargle. I have no idea what Smeargle's going to do because it's a Smeargle, but probably some kind of utility set if I had to guess. Umbreon looks actually decent into a lot of these. The only issue is that like 90% of Psychic Mons also get Dazzling Gleam, just for some reason. So it may struggle a bit there, but as like a switch it into Store Power Spothra, it looks pretty nice. And then Skarmory, I don't know what Skarmory's supposed to do. Probably set up Hazards and Whirlwind or something. It's very Gen 3 of it to want to do, but I think that's actually not terrible. We'll just get right into it now. Here we go. There's the leads with Indeedee staring down the Smeargle. Smeargle is maybe going for Spore, actually, and it gets kicked back with Magic Bounce. Really unfortunate there, actually. And he just switches it out right away. As Poltergeist comes in, now staring down this Umbreon. Going for the reset, actually, out and to reposition for Iron Valiant. Pocketing, kind of pops its own booster speed. Probably to go for a setup because it knows it doesn't mind the Umbreon whatsoever, and it will just raw go for that Swords Dance. I think if Umbreon actually had, what is it called? Encore, could have been interesting. And there's a close combat. Doesn't actually kill the Scar, but it Whirlwinds into Poltergeist, which is actually pretty unlucky because Poltergeist can just go for the Shell Smash, Whirlwind the second time right now. God damn it. I think there would have been a really risky move, but I think it would have been really cool to see a second Whirlwind, and now this thing just goes down to the Shadow Ball after the Shell Smash Poltergeist. Here comes back that Umbreon. It looks pretty good, actually. Scares out the switch. Umbreon is going to go for a Roar, actually. And it roars itself, which is really funny. Very, very silly. And in a way, not bad. There's a Dark Pulse, actually, from the Tornadus, forcing the eject button off of the Hatterene straight into Indeedee, and I think that's really cool. It really sets up for aggressive pivoting. And there's a Terra Psychic from the Indeedee male. Takes actually that Dark Pulse better than I thought, and Expanding Force only for 63, and it actually will just go down here to a second Dark Pulse. But I think Cat Bomb's intention here is to let it go down to set up for the goddamn Espathra with a Psychic Seed. Fuck this thing. And there actually is a switch into Umbreon in front of the Calm Mind. Speed Boost. Whatever. There's a second Calm Mind, actually, and I think he actually may have forgotten that this is a Roar Umbreon, because why would you go for that there? Brings out the Iron Valiant, and he switches out into the Smeargle to probably just let it go. Takes the close combat, goes down to Sash. That's Sash? Yeah, okay. I would have let it die, but that's just me. But there's the Palafin in front of the swords, and he goes... Oh, God. I would have not gone for the flip turn. I would have just raw switched it into the Smeargle. Smeargle's not going to do jack. With losing Palafin, that really, really, really stings. I dislike that play quite a bit, but there's a switch out from the Valiant. Hatterene comes in, takes that Bleak Wind Storm, 39%. He goes for the Dark Pulse, which is a... Hold on. I know Bleak Wind Storm has a high chance to miss. You know, 80% is sometimes 0. But, like... Had he gone for the second Bleak Wind and it hit, this would have died, and not... You know, this wouldn't have gotten parried. I think that makes a huge difference, because now this is basically out of the game. In my opinion. But, you know, it is what it is. There's actually a U-turn? You could have just gone for, I think you could have actually gone for the U-turn and it may have just killed. But there's a pivot out into Umbreon in front of the Valiant. Just really awkward. And it, oh my god, it actually lives the close combat. And it roars. This strategy is really cool. I actually really like aggressive phasing. You know, this is double phaser comp. But there's 0 hazard support, which hurts my feelings. And there's an armor cannon into the Smeargle, getting the KO. It's whatever. And here's the Go-Go, and now this is where it's a little weird. It goes with the Terra Water, which is like kind of neat. Takes an Expanding Force actually better than I thought it would, and it actually goes for the bulk up right here. What's interesting is that this maybe has a chance, but he goes for a second bulk up. Maybe that feels a little greedy, at least to me. Third Expanding Force, I think he's just trying to go for the kill here, but there's a Milk Drink healing it back up. Now we're playing like the damage game. I wouldn't have gone for a bulk up there. I would have just gone for another Milk Drink to try and heal it back up closer to full to just feel a little bit safer. But there's a, I guess this is sort of like not quite optimal, but I mean he's going for like the bare minimums. There's a double up Milk Drink turn. Now I would go for the attack here, potentially, but he just goes for another bulk up. Now this is confusing. I'm not gonna lie. There's another E-Force into the Milk Drink. I'm gonna skip a little bit. E-Force, E-Force. Sure, okay. This is very bizarre because Clear River is not making any headway here, and there's a wait. Oh, this was sashed. Okay. Yeah, I think if he had gone for anything in between to break the sash sooner, you maybe would have felt a little bit safer. And now he's gonna go for that loop debond to catch out. Yeah, he goes for, doesn't even loop. He just goes for the debond to catch out the goat. Had there been some kind of chip damage or any kind of wear down, that play becomes impossible for Cat Bomb. And there's the Dazzling Gleam actually off the Espathra, knowing that there are dark types up foot on this comp. And now it's just this paralyzed, crippled Tornado staring down the Espathra, and it's just gonna, I'm gonna skip a little bit. It sets up like a couple times, like once, goes for the Stored Power, gets some damage down. Actually almost dies to a Dark Pulse, which is really funny, but I mean, the Stored Power is gonna kill, because it's even one extra tick of stats. So, interestingly, not that bad of a game, I think, for Clear River. This was decent, bringing, you know, Cat Bomb to just a 3-0. Cat Bomb is a really, really good player, I'm not gonna lie. So, decent performance, Katie, like, skill, death, you know, as far as ratio, but, you know, I think there were some critical mistakes here that really shaped the way that game played out. Chief among them, to me, was maybe letting the Hatterene live a bit longer than it should have. I think also, like, not chipping down Arm Rouge, period, was kind of questionable with the, you know, with the Go-Goat. If, I don't know what its fourth move was, but if it was anything else, that may have been okay. Like, if it was, like, even just, like Trailblaze or something, like a grass move, that would have been pretty okay. I think he a lot of these turns were spent in this weird back and forth between bulking up and going for Milk Drinks. Like, there's no reason, in my opinion, to go for really hard stacking bulk ups, because to me, in the back, the only thing that benefits me with the bulk up is the you know, the Iron Valiant. So I'm still constantly afraid of this thing. Sure, like, you can go for maybe 3 or 4 bulk ups, I can understand, but you know, still a lot of those turns were spent in this weird loop of, you know, bulk up, milk drink, bulk up, milk drink, or whatever. And it sort of gained no ground, and I mean, it cost Cat Bomb 12 out of 16 Expanding Forces. So it could have been just a little bit tighter, I think, but I like the concept of this team, like this comp in particular, against this, you know, this player and his style with these like really aggressive setup mons. Double Phaser is actually really interesting, but with no hazard support, it's brutal. And the Smeargle, I think, getting caught by its own spore by a magic bounce is just really unfortunate. Something that could, you know, you could consider, I think, if for Clear River on the Smeargle, is actually trying out moves like Stone Axe or Ceaseless Edge, both of which are signature moves for a couple Hisuian Pokemon, Cleavor and Hisuian Samurott respectively, both of which actually still set up a hazard, and are, because they're actually damaging moves, they are not at all blocked by you know, Magic Bounce. And actually would have actually chipped Hatterene down a little bit and forced out the eject button sooner. So that could be something to consider, something to try. I mean, I don't hate Spore on Smeargle. I think it's fine. It just was really unfortunate knowing that there was also a Magic Bounce mod, so I was able to just kick it back, and then the Smeargle became kind of useless. My other critique would only really be like the Palafin. I want Palafin to do something. Like, I think it's really powerful. It's a really strong Pokemon. I think maybe it's just hard. Like, it's hard to position properly, I think, is the big issue. So that could be something Clear River looks at in future games. Speaking of which, by sheer coincidence, we are going to look at a future game. Because this one is more to, I think, highlight Fennec. If I can find it. Alright, this is the last one we'll do for today, and it's going to be Fennec Fox versus Clear River. We'll flip the POV here. No, it's okay. So, comp-wise, Clear River is taking something kind of similar to last week, or, you know, his other week, except he swapped out the, Jesus Christ, what... Okay, you swapped out Skarmory and Smeargle for Lantern and Donphan. I'm not really sure why. Donphan, I think, is a good spinner, so it actually makes a lot of sense here, because, you know, I think Fennec is maybe likely to step at Hazard, but also is showing some good control with Court Chain, Cinderace, and I think Rapid Spin, Serena. There we go. God. What's kind of interesting to me is that Clear River is kind of continuing this like odd crusade about having Rillaboom and never using it. Yeah, there's a Rillaboom in this draft, but I don't think I've ever seen it. Maybe once it came out, but after that, never again. I think Rillaboom is actually really strong. Maybe not into this draft, because Cinderace and Alolan Ninetales are no joke, but, you know, it's a Pokemon, guys. I swear to God, it's good. Lantern's kind of cool, I guess, like, because, you know, it actually is a decent water type, with the option to also go Volt Absorb for that Jolteon specifically, which I think is actually quite smart. And then of course Donphan, pretty good into Jolteon unless it's Terra Ice, and then it's actually not too bad into like Cinderace as well. But looking at Fennec's team, yeah, there's a Jolteon, and this thing I think is either probably Terra Ice or Terra Fairy if I had to guess. Jolteon is actually really fast, and still has a decent enough special attack stat to really lay down some pressure, which is actually quite welcome, I would say. It's quite nice. And I've seen it run like as a setup mon, or I've also seen it run as a like a choicer, either Scarf or Specs. Scarf is kind of crazy, but not impossible. I've seen it before. So I would not be surprised if Fennec considers it. You know, I don't know about this week, I don't remember, but it is an option for sure. There's an Alolan Ninetales, and generally Alolan Ninetales is just an Aurora Veil bot, which is not a bad thing by any means. I actually think it's quite strong in what it does, because Aurora Veil is just really powerful. Just period. It's Aurora Veil. It's really good. And then there's this Registeel, and I know for a fact that Fennec really likes her Registeel. The game I refuse to review actually centers around Registeel, wasting about 90 turns, so it's a good mon for sure, and is very, very scary if it's allowed to really start to set up. So we'll see what happens. Up next is a Mimikyu, and I think Mimikyu, I actually don't think it looks great this week. It's just a good offensive piece. It's not like the most threatening thing in the world, but I think it's kind of neat. Yeah, I don't know. Like, it maybe hits Umbreon, kinda. And then the last two are Cinderace and Serena, both of which are respectably not Serena, but Cinderace is pretty fast. Little Barrow gives it a lot of flexibility. Can easily just get away with like Sucker Punch, Pyro Ball, Core Change, and a third move. I don't know. High Jump Kick is pretty common. High Jump Kick doesn't actually look very good into this comp, but Sucker Punch, it's damage at the very least. And then Serena, with like Queenly Majesty, I think protects itself from priority moves, which is actually quite nice. Too bad there aren't any on this team, because I don't think Palafin is running Jet Punch again for some reason. But Serena can still get away with some pretty good damage here, but let's get into this replay. There's the leads. It is Donphan now staring down the Ninetales. It's a little awkward, actually. Ninetales is actually pressuring this out. And there's an Aurora Veil as the Donphan just goes for the Stealth Rocks. A little safe for a turn 1 here. But there's a switch out into the Umbreon here as Ninetales just nails a Blizzard for a decent 22%. But the Leftovers is going to bring this back up a little bit. Misses a Hypnosis, which is actually really brutal. As the Umbreon goes for a Wish. Really? Okay, that's a bit interesting, I guess. Nails the Hypnosis this time. Gets its Sleep Turn, and will just heal itself with its own Wish, I guess. Little awkward positionally here, because we've run out a lot of those Aurora Veil turns. Registeel does actually now come in, as the snow does fall off, and we see that Aurora Veil is sticking around. There's the Amnesia. This is definitely double dance, kind of double defensive dance. Registeel. And there's the Body Press, nailing the Umbreon for 56. There's a Roar. Pulls out Mimikyu, which lands on those rocks. Takes a bit of chip damage. But the Play Rough should kill here, and it does. And there goes the Umbreon. I said Roar was cool last week, and I think it's still kind of cool this week. But here's the Palafin. There's a Sweat Head into Cinderace. A little awkward, but shows the boots. Cinderace actually lives the crit non-hero Palafin flip turn. And here comes the Tornadus. Just going straight for that U-turn. I'm not sure if that was necessary. You know, I think there may have been a better move to click beside that. But Cinderace does go down here. And here comes Serena on the switch-in. Forces the switch out into Go-Goat. As there's a Power Whip. And there's the Go-Goat showing Sap Sipper. Really, really big there. Ninetales switches in, lands on those rocks, taking the 25%. As the Go-Goat just goes for a bulk up. Little greedy, I think, actually, in the face of Ninetales. But it goes Terra Water here. And there's a Blizzard. Lives the Blizzard now because of its resistance. And will actually nail the Ninetales for 48% with the through the snow. And there's a Hypnosis miss, unfortunately. As Earthquake will actually pick up the Ninetales. There was not even an Aurora Veil, though. Oh, that really does sting. Here comes Jolteon, showing boots, actually, on the Jolteon. As Lantern comes in, I think to do the Volt Absorb. There it is. Clear actually is piloting this matchup really nicely here. And there's the V-Switch, I think, for getting, again, the Volt Absorb. And Rain Dance clears the weather. Not like I think the weather made a huge difference, but the Rain Dance is really great here to set up for the Palafin and the Lantern. As Scald comes out, nails the Registeel with the burn! Absolutely massive burn there, actually. Not only is the chip damage canceling out that Leftovers recovery, but it is also just going to make that Body Press worse. Okay, now he's not piloting this game very well. I would have gone into Palafin and just started to kill people. But he goes with the Donphan, I suspect, because you know, he thinks ground moves are good. And there's the knockoff, getting rid of those lefties. Really reminding that Registeel that his time is limited on this earth. As it goes for an Iron Defense. Turn late, but sure, here's the Palafin. As it takes a Body Press at +2, actually, in the burn. 35% is still quite a bit. But Palafin goes for the Haze. Haze? Okay, that's probably fine. But Registeel will heal off its burn and will heal itself back up to full. I don't understand this switch, but he switches to Go-Goat, I guess. Goes for an Earthquake. I'm not sure. Maybe the Palafin just doesn't have close combat. But, okay. Go-Goat is now just spamming Earthquakes, which is a bit odd. Registeel just goes for the Iron Defense. I feel like he may have wanted to go for a bulk up here, actually. 1 or 2. But the +2 Body Press nearly kills the Go-Go, and he switches, which is a little interesting. I think I would have preferred if he just let the Go-Go die, because also another turn of Earthquake chip would have been quite nice here. And there's actually the Amnesia from Registeel in after the Bleak Wind. There's the U-turn into Donphan, but it goes for the rest, and it heals by all the way back up to full. Now this is getting a little... I'm going to start skipping turns. Palafin comes back out. I was going to go for the Haze here, I suspect. Clears them, the stat changes, and the Registeel is still asleep, which is really nice. There's a wave... Okay, well, there's a wave crash, I guess, because... I guess Jet Punch doesn't exist. I'm just going to start skipping. Iron Defense, the Haze comes out, clears the head of stuff. There's a Body Press. That was about the same as the one it was burned, because the burn cut the stat, but it was +2. Anyway, here's Lantern. There's a Body Press. Nails it for 37, which is not too... Actually pretty good there. Registeel is just really, really fat. But there's a Rain Dance for the Lantern. And the Registeel just goes for an Iron Defense, knowing, really, that the Palafin's not going to hurt this thing at all now. There's a Scald. Roll a burn? Oh, there's the second burn roll. Really, really fortunate there. As it goes for the Amnesia, this Double Dance Registeel is such a pain in the butt. And the fact that there's no phaser to keep it off the field is really inconvenient, but... You know, it is what it is, team comp-wise. There's another Body Press, only dealing about 37%. Because of the boost through the burn. The Skull comes out again, only does 11, but there's a rest. This would be very different if there was... I'm going to start skipping turns. Sure. Haze. Flip. Dark Pulse. Okay, also if this was Heat Wave, this would be different. I guarantee if Tornadus had Heat Wave, it would actually be a lot more useful into this comp. Because, in my opinion, there's no reason to run Dark Pulse at all into this matchup. Because what does Dark Pulse hit that Heat Wave and Bleak Windstorm don't already hit? You know, so I think some newer players just maybe don't grasp the concept of it. Sometimes you don't need the super effective. Sometimes you just gotta hit it with a rock, you know? You just hit it with big number. And, you know, you can kind of just go from there. So, I think if this Tornadus was showing, like, Bleak Windstorm, U-turn, Heat Wave... I don't know, fourth move, it would be a lot different. Heatwave at least gives it a really good matchup, and could potentially catch switch-in turns off of Registeel, off of Ninetales, even off of Serena. And then Bleak Windstorm, you know, it's not going to hit like Jolteon very well, I think, but at the very least it can still chunk out Mimikyu, at least break its, you know, its disguise. I mean, the first hit always will break disguise and not do real damage, but it is what it is. There's an Iron Defense, yeah, whatever. There's a Scald, roll the burn, doesn't roll the burn, Lantern goes down. There's a Dark Pulse, yet again, I don't like that. This time the +2 Body Press does full damage because it is not impeded by a burn. There's a crit for some reason, but Dark Pulse doesn't roll the drop. There's a crit back, and it actually will pick up the kill on the Tornadus. I don't think the crit may have mattered. I'm not sure what this damage roll is. There's the Palafin. Hitting Wave Crash is still, for some reason... I mean, if this had close combat, this would do a lot more damage. There's a knock, there's the rest. Yeah. Milk drink, sure. Earthquake, not much damage, dies. I apologize, guys. I'm skipping a lot here because I think some of these turns were so... do nothing. You know, the field doesn't advance very much that... it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to talk about those, but there's the KO with the Registeel Body Press. It got like 5 kills or something this game. What the hell? But I guess goes to show, you know, Registeel actually is still really, really powerful and loses to the move Taunt, but, you know, you have to prepare for it, I think, more appropriately. So Fennec, I think, is piloting Registeel really, really well. I'm kind of annoyed with it because of how good it is. But, oh yeah, no, this Registeel is going on a rampage right now. One of, I think, maybe Fennec's best scorers so far as KOs. And wasting my time. Yeah, no, I'm annoyed, but that's fine. I think Fennec is actually still doing a really good job controlling their Registeel. and controlling, maybe not the Cinderace this game, but this comp at least looks really good. I'm quite happy. I would probably play this. I would have liked to see the Jolteon kind of shine a little bit more, but a little unfortunate just because the Lantern was in the way. But otherwise, yeah, really good game. Really hinging on that Registeel is a bit of a pain, but and also just right in time because this ran out of body presses. So really well done, I suppose. Yeah. I think Clear River. Maybe bring Heat Wave on Tornadus, if the matchup calls for it. Which this one I think would have. And even the prior match may have called for that. But anyway, that's all I have for you Nova League recap for this week. We're going to take a look at the standings, and so we slowly update for week 6. At the end of week 5, actually, we do have, a few people still sitting at the top here. This is kind of where we're at right now. I think in both divisions we have some people kind of finding their way to the top and some to the bottom. And actually what's really cool is we had a game today that really marked it was a pretty watershed moment, I think, for Kalos division, with Blaze even actually taking his first loss against Kick. Really, actually, oh my god, wait, they're actually neck and neck now. Only differential of 1 keeps them apart here. But there is no sweeper now in Kalos, which is super cool to see. And I'm excited to see how the rest of this division shakes out. And then for Unova, we had another watershed game, I would say, between Milk Tea Boba and Hachiari. I will be definitely recapping that for the next recap stream. So this one's going to be really fun. This one was a bit of a slobber knocker. And we'll talk about it when the time comes. So anyway, guys, I would like to thank anyone who is here tonight in the chat. Thank you so much for hanging out. I do always appreciate it. It's always great to have folks in the chat hanging out. I always, it's just nice. And you guys can tune in probably tomorrow at some point. I'm going to try to squeeze out the Kalos recap stream, and I'm going to kind of prep myself a little bit for it. We'll just look. I kind of just want to do all of week 5 for Kalos. I think all of these games were really cool, except for the one where there wasn't a game. For that, I think we can talk about Goose and Dandaman from week 4. But otherwise, I really want to just talk about these week 5 games. A lot of them were really cool. Maybe some were less cool. But there are definitely some fun ones I think we can kind of talk about. So we'll be looking at those, I think, primarily, and then a couple out of the week 4 pool, bringing us to, I think, 8 matches to kind of look at. Should be really interesting. I'm quite excited. But yeah, that's it, guys. Thanks so much again for hanging out. Tune in tomorrow for that stream. And a little surprise or two I got for you guys. Keep an eye out on this channel. I know this Twitch channel has been primarily used for recap streams, but I'm looking to do additional content. You guys can stick around and watch that if you want. I'm not going to do it right away tonight, but I might do a little extra surprise stream. I'm not going to @ the Discord server on it, but if you're not already following and you want to just kind of, if you like kind of chill streams and hangout streams kind of thing, I'll be doing a few more of those. I've adjusted my setup, so I actually get to do something I've always wanted to do. I did a couple a long time ago, but I get to bring it back. I'm going to bring back hobby streams, so if that sounds kind of appealing, just kind of hanging out, chilling, chatting, watching a gorilla paint his plastic toys. I'm just saying, come hang out, watch those. It's pretty nice, especially later into the evening. So anyway, guys, thanks so much again. Keep an eye out. Like I said, tomorrow we'll do the college recap, assuming I'm alive and functional before I have to go to a thing. But yeah. Have a good night, everybody. Bye-bye.